US President Donald Trump on Friday said he would impose a 100% duty on all products from China in response to curbs that were announced by Beijing this week. China put stiff export restrictions on rare earth minerals, leading to a rapid escalation of tensions between the world's two largest economies. On Truth Social, President Trump wrote that the tariffs would take effect from November 1 and be imposed over and above all the other tariffs on Chinese exports. Chinese goods currently face up to 30% tariff, which were put on hold until November. The United States would also put export controls on critical software to China. In an earlier social media post, the president threatened to retaliate and even cancel a planned upcoming meeting with China's leader Xi Jinping later this month. Trump called the curbs that China put this week on its exports of rare earth minerals as sinister and hostile. He said they would make life difficult virtually for every country in the world, including the United States. He also added that he planned to meet with Xi Jinping in 2 weeks' time at an international economic conference in South Korea. But now he says there seems to be no reason to do so. Markets shuddered at the developments. The S&P 500 index slid more than 2% on Friday when the bourses shut. Speaking at the White House, President Trump suggested that the tariffs could be walked back before the November 1 deadline and that he would not necessarily cancel his planned meeting with Xi Jinping.
Just want to confirm, have you canceled your meeting with President Xi? And
no, I haven't canceled, but I don't know that we're going to have it. But I'm going to be there regardless, so I would assume we might have it.
They roll back their export controls, the new announcement. Would you roll back?
Look, we're going to have to see what happens. That's why I made it November 1st. We'll see what happens here.
Rare earth minerals, which are vital for making an array of products, whether it is motors, brakes, semiconductors, even aeroplane jets, have all been at the center of these tensions between the United States and China. Trump has also placed extreme tariffs on Chinese exports before, only for him to walk back on them after China restricted trade and hurt both countries in the process. Back in April, the Chinese government responded to the stiff tariffs that Trump had imposed on Chinese goods by clamping down on rare earth mineral exports to US automakers and to American defense manufacturers. The Trump administration tried to encourage China to back down by imposing its own restrictions on exports of chip-designed software, aeroplane engines, as well as other products. American tariffs on Chinese products rose to a maximum of 145%, bringing much of the trade between both countries to a complete halt. Then, their negotiators met over a couple of times in Geneva and London over the summer. China's mineral curbs threatened to close American factories, and it forced the United States, which depends on Chinese supplies, to pull back. Ultimately, officials from both America and China reached a fragile truce in meetings over the summer that led Trump to reducing his tariffs. It also led to Beijing approving more mineral exports to America. The tariffs on China were capped at 30%. The tariffs were put on a 3-month hold until November, before which both parties were hoping to clinch a trade deal. But that now seems unlikely. Last week, Beijing once again escalated its controls, asserting that it had widespread jurisdiction over the global manufacture of semiconductors as well as other critical technologies. The Chinese government said it would make it mandatory for companies anywhere in the world to obtain licenses if they are exporting products containing even a minimal amount of Chinese-produced rare earths. And this includes manufacturing of semiconductors, which are vital for the modern-day global economy. Those exports would also be controlled if the minerals were produced using Chinese mining, processing, or even magnet-making technologies. Companies with any affiliation to foreign militaries, particularly the American one, would largely be denied these licenses. The Chinese government also put new controls on equipment needed to manufacture batteries for electric cars. China mines 70% of the world's rare earths and performs the chemical processing for roughly 90% of the global supply of critical minerals. The new restrictions have caused significant anxiety amongst American companies. Analysts say the new limits could scramble the supply chains of some of the world's biggest companies, including Nvidia and Apple. In fact, tech stocks were particularly hard hit, with Nvidia coming down almost 5%, advanced micro devices falling almost 8%, and broader semiconductor sector sliding about 5% on trade on Friday. Also, China announced an anti-monopoly investigation into American shipmaker Qualcomm and new fees for American ships that are docking at Chinese ports. Analysts had speculated that China's mineral restrictions could be an effort to amass leverage ahead of the meeting between Trump and Xi Jinping. Many have called Beijing's action an economic declaration of war against the United States, also a slap in the face to President Trump amidst his efforts to try and fight for a level playing field. With the planned upcoming summit between the two leaders in just over 2 weeks, it's unclear whether both sides would be willing to de-escalate just to hold the meeting. But if that meeting does not happen, then it means that all bets are off between Beijing and Washington.
Fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.